What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and this is Regular Guy Training. So I get questions a lot on, what can I do to help practice and that kind of stuff, and especially guys that come through class, right? We go through 2 days and 1,400 rounds, or 4 days and 2,400 rounds, and the whole time I'm helping them take notes on stuff that they can do for dry fire practice, good ways to practice what they're learning after they leave. I very much heavily emphasize you have to practice after you come to class, or you're wasting your time, right? And one big thing that I advocate a lot is, it ain't much. It's as simple as 100 rounds a week, right? So what we're going to do here is that we're going to go over one of a lot of different types of what a typical week would look like. Right? Now, here's an emphasis on this. If you go out and you have your 100 rounds, there needs to be an objective. There needs to be something that you have to work on, or a small series of things that you can bundle up really easily. And this depends on where you're at individually. What we're going to do today is we're going to do 100 rounds, very simple, very basic, and a lot of the stuff that I'm going to do in the next 100 rounds is stuff that you can do on a flat range. Maybe you have to scale some of it down for sure, but I want this to be able to transfer to guys that have to go onto their flat ranges at the house, or fucking, like the indoor ranges where all you got is like a booth and you can't do a shitload of moving and that kind of stuff. And certainly this is going to evolve a little bit further from now, but we're going to go ahead and get into this. Now, here's the thing that I like to do. I have been shooting left-handed basically my entire life, right? I first time that a gun was put in my hands and that I learned to shoot, I was 6 years old, and pretty much from that point forward, I was left-handed. Okay, so taking into account that I'm 27, that's 21 years of shooting left-handed. I recognized that there was a deficiency, because while I would switch over and shoot on the right hand side a little bit and that kind of stuff, I was always bad at it. So what I did, just to be as flexible and well-rounded as possible, that's the main base below everything that I was doing, is I decided to go completely over to right hand for the next 12 months. Now there's more stuff that I can get into on that, but what I'm working on right now, as I have been for the last 4 months, is unless the drill in a class that I'm teaching is specifically to switch over to the other side, or if it's a piece of cover or whatever, right? There's a bajillion different reasons. I shot right-handed, right? So here's something that I've been trying to work on for a while. Number one, I'm trying to get the motor skills down. I've been doing it for a few months, and I've been dedicating a lot of dry fire practice to it and that kind of stuff. But I'm still a little awkward. I'm still really focused on just the shooting part, and I'm trying to get my gears turning a little bit more. As well as the fact that I have to be able to pick up sights with both eyes open, because you can switch your eye dominance from one side to the other. However, it is an order of magnitude more difficult, rather, than switching your hands. So there's all kinds of awkwardness and processing and shit that I got to do here. And guys that say that you can't switch your eye dominance from one side to the other, yeah, you can. Archers have been doing it for fucking centuries. So with better sighting systems, I'm pretty sure that we can too. But point is I have things that I have to sort out, right? So this is going to be very much a fundamentals exercise of 100 rounds. This is going to be a little bit of transition work, so I can pick up my sights and a target fairly easily, or at least work on it, because most of this is probably going to be a fucking disaster, to be frank. And a little bit of hand-eye coordination too, working on a bunch of reloads and getting my sights back up on target, because additionally, I've got a red dot on this pistol as well. This is one of the Brownell slides, right? That makes the cut on the slide really low, so you can pick up a lot of aftermarket sights. I saw one come through class while we were in Lexington, Kentucky, and that was actually really interesting to me. My buddy Todd got one too, and this is that pistol. This is for a Glock 17. So there's also some stuff that I have to work through, because as far as right-handed stuff is concerned, aside of a little bit of work with the P10C, I don't have a whole lot of mileage with it. So there's a lot of stuff that I want to work on all at once, and I'm going to try and condense it into 100 rounds by just doing a few decent drills here. Now, the first thing that I'm going to go ahead and work on is I'm going to warm up with a trigger finger isolation drill. And what that really is that it forces you to give up like all of your support system, all your grip, that kind of shit, and it forces you to press a trigger like so. It teaches you how to control this thing actually quite a bit better. And since my buddy Josh showed it to me, I've inserted it into classes. It's been working great ever since. Because a big thing about this trigger finger isolation thing is not just trying to avoid to jerk the trigger, right? Because it's not really jerking the trigger that sends the gun off target, right? It's the pre-ignition grip and the pre-ignition push that moves the gun. And what's kind of cool about red dots is that they move around so much, and they move around so much to the point where they tell you if you're dicking things up, which is great. So yeah, we jerk. I mean, what you can't avoid is jerking on the trigger a little bit, because especially if you start shooting fast, that's almost exclusively what you're doing. What you're trying to do instead is control that press of the trigger to the point where it's not moving your sights, because the bullets are always going to go where the sights are pointed. If you move that point of reference, if the gun is pointed down in that last 1/16 second or less as you're pressing that trigger, because you've increased the tension on your grip or leaned into it or both, that is where we get a lot of that low and low left type stuff and that kind of shit. Mostly it's because low left is, I'm on the right hand side increasing the torque, you know. So it's simply dipping this way because there's more torque on this hand, right? Versus left hand, a lot of the low right stuff is just a recoil anticipation thing, and there's more torque on that gun hand. So getting rid of that entire support system forces you to do your job, and it also helps you detect what you're doing to the gun, because you can still get a little bit wrist flinchy with it, but it broadcasts a whole lot louder, so it's easier for you to call your shot. So I'm filming this on a camera that likes to time out after like 12 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. But then I'm going to go right back to this dueling tree plate here. That plate is 6 inches in diameter, and I'm going to back off 10 yards, and I'm going to do my best to try and hit it all 5 times. Alright, so we're back. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? I'm just going to step to the side a little bit so that you can see what's going on here. But that's round about 10 yards. Okay, so all I'm going to do here is I'm going to unholster the pistol. Okay? I'm going to drop out all of my little support system for it. I'm simply going to get it on the target. Right? And once I got it on target here, I'm going to just do my best to control everything that I'm doing. All right. So as we can see, there's a lot of movement in the pistol, and there's a lot of doing my very best to calm all that down, relieve as much tension as I can, and get a proper press. And we can see that on my right-hand side, it's not as well groomed. Right? There's a little bit of dipping. I felt it in the wrist. Okay? So getting this kind of shit under control is what we're trying to do. We're trying not to dip the gun with all of this. Okay? Yes, we're trying to control this straight to the rear, so that's not adding to the problem. but you can actually see what I got to work on here. Okay? So why fundamentals are key, and why grip is a technique. It's not a fundamental. It's what, fundamental: sight alignment, sight picture, trigger control. Okay? That trigger control encompasses not just your trigger finger, but your hands revolving around it. Super tight grip isn't just going to do it. So here's what we're going to do now. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and back us off. I'm going to go ahead and back us off to about the 25 here. Move my camera a little bit farther back than 25, and we got ourselves a slightly larger diameter plate. Now I'm going to stick myself in front of this plate here, and all I'm simply going to do now is I'm just going to go through a smooth draw. I'm going to go ahead and line the sights up, do everything I got to do. Now that I have my support system back and the gun will move a little bit less, I'm just going to go ahead and push that whole thing out, breathe it out, and I'm going to go ahead and do 5 solid draws on a larger diameter target. This is about a dinner plate size target at about 25. So here we go. Let's see if I can shake this shit out. Nope. Drop that whole wrist into it right from the start. Let's see if I can't clean it up. Now it's a shot per draw. There we go, a little more centered up. Okay, now the point of this individual drill is that, especially if you're similar to me and guns that end up in your hands are just a revolving carousel of different things, I like to get used to the particular gun that's in my hand, how it feels, how the sights line up, that kind of stuff, because this guy is a little bit different than a lot of other Glocks that are out there. There's a friggin' lightning cut in it, plus there's a red dot. Okay. So the impulse is a little bit different. How the gun feels in my hands is a little bit different too as the gun recoils, because it's a 17, not a 19, right? I think you guys have seen me shoot a Glock 17 all of twice, but that's not even all of it. If we're going to go ahead and get reps in like this, it's a reactive type posture. We're gonna be drawing the pistol, so getting all of those steps in line is what's gonna help. Making sure that we got a good, solid, competent run of lining up those sights is going to help us out later, especially as we start to speed things up, because you want to be as competent as possible and then slowly ratchet up the speeds as you go, rather than just starting at 200 miles an hour. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take you just down this side here. I'm only going to move you sideways, and I'm going to set this camera down in front of the 8-inch plate, and we're still at 25. So for the remainder of this 15-round magazine, I'm going to be doing the same. So here we go. All right. So, I went ahead and I shot that group there. First shot on both. You saw it clear as day. There were misses, right? Everybody has their own individual things that they have to work on. Mine is that I just try to check the boxes too fast, right? I just try to slam on the gas pedal, and I know I shouldn't be doing that, especially going off of my stupid side here. But it's all shit that we got to work on, and I'm not one of those people that instantly like gets anything I'm trying to learn either. I'm one of those types that needs like 40 billion reps in order to get anything. So it you know, gonna be what it's gonna be. But so far, got 2 drops on the day, and the stuff that we had just worked on, all that stuff, I'm just checking all the boxes, making sure the draw's good and that kind of stuff, lining it up, and then press, working on that control on every level. That was done in 15 rounds. Now I'm going to go ahead and move into a little bit of motor skills here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off the camera just in case it's running up on time, and we'll get back into the next drill. Alright, so we're roundabout in between where I started and the second drill. What I'm going to get into now is I'm going to get into a little bit of slide lock work. Shot, reload, shot, that kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and do this for an entire magazine, 15 rounds. And what I've got right now is the first magazine that I shot empty and in the gun with a loaded round in the chamber, and the loaded magazine that was loaded to 15 in the sidecar here. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to practice going through reloads on the particular gun I got with the particular clothing I have on, that kind of stuff. And I highly suggest that you do this several times a year just for different clothing types, right? So all that's going to happen is that I'm going to go ahead and fire a shot, get a reload in, and fire the next shot. But at the same time, I'm also going to transition to different targets. I'm going to avoid patterns, meaning I'm going to avoid going to the same set of targets, like this one first, and then that one, and then this one, and then that one, just over and over again. I'm going to try and avoid those patterns, especially since I got dueling tree plates behind me and a couple other different diameter targets off to the left and right. So that's how I'm going to go ahead and handle this. And we're just gonna go ahead and do this for a whole magazine. So by the time that we're done with this, we're at 30 rounds now. So here we go. Now, I'm not trying to break any speed records. I'm trying to get my hands to do what they're supposed to, right? It's so fucking weird. Drop that magazine. I got 1 round left. All right. So that's 15. Here's something that I want to emphasize. I have said it before, right? When I've done this kind of stuff on the channel. While you're in the middle of your practice, right? And we're talking about with live ammunition. It's slightly different than what goes on in your dry fire practice. With your dry fire practice, you want it to be as perfect as possible and that kind of stuff. However, what I highly emphasize more than anything else during your live fire practice is finish the rep. You guys saw there were a couple of sloppy draws in there, there was a couple of bouncy stuff with the reloads, and there were a couple of coordination issues with me because my hands are doing different shit now, right? I don't know if you caught it, I'm pretty sure you did, but I absolutely dropped one of my magazines in the middle, like while getting it out of the clothing. It just got fumbled up, my thumb got tripped up, it fell, but I completed the rep anyway. Because here's the thing, as far as your practice is concerned, you also have to be able to deal with things that go wrong, right? Because chances are, if you have to draw your pistol on the street or some shit like that, it's probably going to be a little sloppy. And if you pre-program yourself to hit the reset button on everything that isn't perfect, you'll just freeze in place, being like, the reflex is to go back in, but your brain is screaming at you to finish, get it out there and do what you need to do. So, yeah, and big deal. Fucking, yeah, I fuck up too. So, it's whatever. I felt like there was a miss in there someplace, but for the life of me, I can't remember where. But either way, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and cut the camera off. I'm going to go ahead and load the magazines that I have with me, because I've got 2. And as of right now, we're on 30 rounds. So we'll come right back. Alright, so here's what we're going to do now. I'm going to spend the next 15 rounds transitioning from target to target on the far right and the far left side. I'm going to move closer for this, and the main reason for moving closer is that there is just more of this that you have to do. Me backing all the way up means that it just means that my rotations are like this. I want to be able to move the whole body so I can get used to having to move the body, make sure that I keep the sights where I need them to be, and then place the shot. Now, an emphasis on this one in particular is just keeping all of your shit together, doing your very best to keep on moving, and at the same time, maintaining your fundamentals, getting your mind on where we go next, and as you start to get comfortable, step on the gas, right? So start to speed up until you start to come apart. And that's where we want to be on this. Okay, now, you guys saw where I was starting to get a little bit comfortable, where I was starting to move the hips a little bit faster, and I started to fall apart right away. In the middle of the rep, I tried to salvage it and just keep all my shit together, but maintain the speed, and it worked out in that regard for the most part. But again, it's a good way to figure out how to get your shit back together, get the sights back where they need to be, and go at it at that point. The targets themselves, you can see, and I'll bring you up to the targets later on. You can see that there's some lower stuff, right? Some lower impacts on both plates, and that is me doing the very best that I can to try and move myself in an efficient way, but not get so paranoid to drop the shot that I'm suffering in the efficiency department. So, let's go ahead and take it away from there. Now it's a similar thing as far as a shot reload shot. Now it's a shot reload 2, and we're still transitioning to a lot of different plates. To a different plate per shot. So because I have 15 rounds, right, I'll get a total of 5 reps on this, right? So, and if you're keeping track, by the end of this, we'll be at 60. I'd go for that top plate, didn't work out. Alright, I realized I hadn't shot at that bottom plate yet, so that's where the stutter was from. I'm not sure if there was 1 or 2 drops in there, you guys saw it. But yeah, I mean, shit. First shot out the gate, holy shit, I was feeling good about myself, and I just came out, hit the gas too hard, didn't check all the boxes, dropped that first shot, and that fucker is the closest to me, right? So when you come out and do this kind of stuff, it's how competently can you do it versus how fast. Again, I'm going to go ahead and load these magazines up again. I'm going to go ahead and cut off the camera, come back, and when I come back, we'll go ahead and talk about what we're going to do next. Alright, so here's what we're going to do now. I'm at the 7-yard line. I like to do this kind of stuff and just kind of gauge where I'm at currently on this, because when I first started going to the right-hand side, it was abhorrent. It was absolutely fucking terrible. And now it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm starting to time myself a little bit now just to see where I'm at. So the next 15 rounds are all dedicated towards a draw and a shot. How long it takes for me to do that. I got a part time set to 2 seconds. It's something I want to do my best to stay on, right? But at the same time, I will not sacrifice a hit for a few tenths of a second. So I'm going to do my best to try and stay in that area with a modicum of success, because especially with a red dot on the pistol now, just the adjustment from running almost exclusively irons for the longest time, you know, obviously you have some slowness issues to go ahead and deal with. So this is good for me personally, because now I have just that little thing that makes me want to meet that time, and you have to essentially create that balance between speed and accuracy and that kind of shit. So I'm going to make sure that I'm at about 7 yards from the tree. 5, 6, 7. And we're going to do our thing. Timer set to 2 seconds. And here we go. Sloppiest draw ever. At 254. Just remember, even if you have a shit rep, finish the rep. Here we go again. Fishing a little bit for that dot, right at 2 seconds. Here we go again. One 8-1. One 6-9. I don't know how well you can see that. Here we go. One 8-2. One 6-9. I'm hovering around sub 1.7, so let's try to get to sub 1.6. Ah, miss. Not even going to look at it at the time because you don't reward bad behavior. Like, I didn't even have the dot in view. Like, I was trying to line up the sights and get them on target and that kind of thing, because red dot sight acquisition for me is painfully slow when I'm fishing. It was not even near the window. So, and you probably saw from the miss and how bad it was. Here we go again. Oh, hit the stand. Alright, get your shit together. Make sure we got those hits. At 190. $213. Psyching myself out. Fishing the dot again. $212. Sloppy as fuck draw at 197. Not even really going to count that. It didn't swing. Here we go. There you go. Good clean rep on that. At 161. So that's where I'm hovering around, is the 1.6 range-ish. So now I'm going to go ahead and go through a shot reload shot on the next magazine, and we're going to see where my little world is at the moment. Oh, and still transitioning targets. A little bit of bobbly shit going on. That has just persisted for the longest. At 488. I like how there was just more movement to do left to right. And that turned into a 4-4-3. All right, here we go again. Five, 6, 4. Okay. 502. I got this bobbly shit going on with my hands. Fuck it. 493. Sloppy fuck draw. 481. All right, here we go again. Hold up. Yep. I was fishing forever on bull sight, on trying to acquire the sights both times. It's 549. All right, I have one round left, so I'm just going to go ahead and get a good time. And this is one of the few times that I'm just kind of like, fuck it, right? Because I do want to see basically what things turn into at full speed, okay? And the size of a 6-inch plate, just do your best to cover that. Right? So if I hit this plate trying to go 200 miles an hour, either way it's a pretty bad day. But I have done this before where I just try to go full speed. It usually doesn't work out very well. So we'll see how it goes. Ah, fuck. I even tried to like throw the dot back on, and I overcompensated, threw it off. It was fucking terrible and slow. But you know what? Sometimes you just got to see where you're at. All right, let me see here. Okay, so I have 10 rounds left out of my 100. What I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to load those 10 rounds, and I'm going to back us off to 50. And I'm just going to do my very best to round this all out and put a good little period on the end of this little 100-shot thing that we're doing here. Alright, so now I have you guys a little bit further back then, but I'm at the 50-yard line. What I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm going to go ahead and shoot at that plate back there with a shot reload shot. I'm going to put it under time just to gauge about how long it takes me, a fucking eternity, right? Because I should probably, I mean, with how this is going right now and my growing pains on it, and my paranoia on trying very hard not to drop the shot, it's probably a better idea to replace this with a fucking sundial. But, you know, it is what it is. And what we're going to go ahead and do here is I'm just going to go ahead and under time, do a shot reload shot. The par time stay the same, but I'm not worried about that. I'm just going to do my very best to have the accuracy that I need, work on the motor skills that I need, get back up on target. You know, make sure that everything is lined up, all the boxes are checked quickly, and then take my time on the press and do my very best not to drop all these fucking rounds. We'll see how it goes. But, you know, it is what it is. Just going to make sure that we're recording still. And we are. All right. Got that at 11:30. All right, 1082. $11.13. Aha! I knew it! Fuck! Everybody here has pressed off that shot before where like you know it's a miss before it leaves the gun. That was that. And I'm not sure if you saw it on camera, but that impact was like 1.25 miles that way. Last one, here we go. High. Nah. I'm getting mental. Well, that was dissatisfying. It happens though. So look, here's the thing on this, right? You know, I'm coming out here and I'm doing my thing, focusing on something that I know is not very good, and that's my right hand side. And you guys seeing, you know, there are little moments of greatness here or there, but there's obviously some coordination issues. There's obviously some things that I got to work out, and that's fine. You know, you should be seeking those things that you're not good at when you're doing your 100-round practice per week. And the reason why, some people may look at that and be like, a week? What the fuck? It's not that expensive, dude. You know, give up fast food a little bit, you know, and then work on this skill once a week. Freaking, I think it's better for everybody all around, you know. So, and that's a big emphasis behind this kind of stuff. You got to do stuff that you're not good at. You have to be willing to challenge yourself. You have to be willing to work outside of what feels comfortable, right? Because you guys saw me start to speed up and most of the time fail miserably, but I got to see where the edge of the envelope is so I know what to push on, right? I mean, particularly when you started seeing it on the timer, right? That from the draw on that first shot, I was pretty good and I was doing pretty well, and then I started to push a little bit harder. I tried to go a little bit faster, failed miserably, and then started to walk it back to where, okay, I know where the edge is right now and I know where I live currently, right? You have to be able to do that kind of stuff. And in 100 rounds, something as simple as nothing more than fundamentals work, site acquisition work, right? Specifically, because I'm fucking around with a red dot right now. Add also some motor skills. You know, getting used to your hand-eye a little bit, getting used to manipulating the tools and doing what you got to do. those things were worked on very heavily in here, and also the transitions, getting people unhinged from this right here is what we have to try and strive for, and it's something we work on constantly in classes that guys come out to, and this ain't just like YouTube shit either. People will come in the comments eventually, I'm assuming, and freaking let you guys know too. As I'm teaching classes, I'm working on shit as well. So I'm doing the demos, and I'm just kind of like, all right, this is what we're looking for, and that kind of stuff, and just about all of it is right-handed, unless the objective's to go to the other hand. And at that point, I'm just kind of like, poof, no problem, But we have to be able to step outside of our little shell and work on things that are difficult. And I'm not sure if you guys noticed what was going on as far as, what I was thinking or all that stuff, because I have like permanent bitch face on all the time. It's like mad. But while I'm sitting here talking about what I'm doing and that kind of shit, focus, like I'm doing everything I can to pull myself away from you guys and do what I got to do, right? So we have to be able to do our best to focus and work on what it is that we have to work on. I'm not worried about looking bad. You guys have seen me shoot on the channel for years. You shouldn't be worried about looking bad either, or feeling self-conscious around other folks. You know what you got to work on, so work on it. I know what I'm bad at, and you guys saw some of it, right? And to be perfectly honest, I shot really well compared to how I do a lot of the time when I come out here, because I'm not very good with my right hand. It's just a fact, right? So push those envelopes, do what you got to do, make yourself well-rounded, okay? And don't accept good enough as good to go. Now, tell me what you guys think. If you want me to continue doing videos like this where it's like fucking 100 round practice episode 2 through whatever the fuck, let me know. And remember, the regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy. Come out and get trained with us, by the way. We have a lot of fun. Alright, so you can actually see that there's a little bit of some low shooting, right? And I hadn't realized this until I was done shooting today, but at about 7 yards in, there is actually a little bit, not a whole lot, not enough to justify like this kind of shit, like way down here. Well, that is fine, for the most part is fine, but that is not. Friggin' that is not. But there is a little bit of a holdover, which is something that I'm now taking into account once I get closer, which is just something I don't even really think about, is a holdover with a pistol. But you can see, like, stuff like that, that's me not compensating correctly, right? That is a me problem, the way low stuff, right? So, that's on the dueling tree plates, right? Now we're going to go ahead and go over to the big guy, which, because it's bigger, I'm trying to go a little bit faster so shot groups are more open. But I mean, you can see basically from like this line down, that's a me problem, right? So all this stuff right in here, the leftward bias stuff, that's a me problem, that kind of stuff, right? I mean, yeah, I could sit here and talk about 50-yard line shot and how it's not going to group super tight, but it's not much of an excuse. Then you see this guy. Jesus Christ. There's a lot of low stuff in here. But there it is. Those are my plates.